Hello students. So today we are going to start the second topic that is related with the chapter 1, that is crop production. So in the first topic we have discussed about the types of crop which are normally grown in India. And yes, in this topic in this video we are going to discuss that what are the basic practices which are involved in the crop production. Normally it is done in the agricultural field. So let us start with the okay. So what is this agricultural practices? So these are the practices which are done by the farmer to produce the crop, and these practices are the number of tasks that are in sequence one after the other that is performed by the farmer. So the first practice that is there in the crop production is the preparation of soil. So farmer has to prepare their soil so that their productivity can be increased. So that is the first part. Then the second step of this agricultural practice is the seed selection and sowing. Remember both the things, seed selection of the seed and sowing part, both are very important in the in increasing the production of crop. Similarly, the third one is the manuring, that is the addition of manure and fertilizer into the field. That is also required because crop utilizes more amount of nutrients when it grows, and yes, we have to replenish these nutrients after every crop cycle. Okay, fourth one is the irrigation. Irrigation means to say supply of water. So that water is required for the seed germination, for the plant growth, for uptake of nutrients. So this irrigation is also required, and this is the fourth step of the practice for the crop production. Okay, fifth one is the removal of weeds. That is, weeds are the unwanted plants which grow along with the crop plants. So this is basically the process that is known as weeding. So that is also required in the crop production process. Next one is the uh, protection from pest and disease. So this is basically the sixth step in which pesticide and some chemicals are used so that crop can be protected from the pest, and yes, it can be protected from the disease also. So seventh is the harvesting. So harvesting is basically the process in which the crop, which after getting mature, is to be cut down, and the grain part is basically taken out from the chaff part. Okay, last one is the storage of food. So this is the eighth and last step which is to be followed by the farmer, and that is the storage of the food grain. So these are the total 8 number of steps that has to be in a sequential manner. So let us understand and discuss it one by one. Okay, first of all, the first step is the preparation of soil. So soil, you know very well, normally the top layer of the soil is basically used for the growing of crop, and this top layer of the soil is known as a horizon. And yes, this a horizon is basically having lots amount of mineral, water, air, organic matter like humus. And not only this, this soil layer is also provide the support to the plant, that is the anchorage to the plant. So that is why this layer of soil is very important for the growth of crop. So this soil is prepared for sowing the seed of the crop, and it is basically done by two steps. One step is known as ploughing, and second step is known as leveling. So ploughing and leveling, these are the two steps which is there in the preparation of soil. So what is ploughing, which is also known as tilling? So this is the process of loosening and turning the soil. So this process is called as ploughing, or sometimes it is called tilling. So both are same. So loosening and turning the soil, it is the process of ploughing. Okay, now the thing is, ploughing is done by some kind of device, and these device or tool is called as agricultural implements. So normally wooden plough, hoe, cultivator, these are the implements which are used by the farmer for this process of ploughing. So as you can see in this particular picture, so this is the picture of plough, simple traditional wooden plough, in which you can see at the bottom this pointed part is present, which is known as plowshare. So this is used by the farmer, and this is the single plow and with single plowshare, which is used to dig out the soil, to loosen it and to turn it. So this is the traditional method of plowing, and yes, it is the method in which time consumption is more, and labor is also very much expensive. And this is again a tool that is implement, which is also used for plowing part. This is hoe, and it is again used to remove the weeds. It is also used for loosening and turning of the soil. Nowadays this tractor driven cultivator is being used. Remember, this is having multiple plowshare, as you can see. So it is having more than 10 plowshare. So this is very efficient, and it is going to save time and labor cost also, this plowshare. So you can compare, this is the tractor driven cultivator by which a farmer is turning its soil, whereas the single plowshare is going to take much more time as compared to the tractor driven cultivator. So this is having the advantage. Now moving on to the next part, that is the advantage of plowing. Remember, this is very important point. So the main advantage of plowing is likewise, so it allows deep and free penetration of root of the plant into the soil. So remember one thing, when the soil is loosed because of the plowing, so it will allow the free penetration of the root part of the plant into the soil. So roots can go deep inside the soil. Similarly, because of this plowing, the nutrient rich soil will come onto the top part. So it will allow the turning of the soil. This will be beneficial for the growth of plants. Third is it provides air space in the soil. So because of the turning, because of the this loosening process by the help of plowing, so the air space will be formed. So air space, more amount of air will penetrate into the soil, and this will allow the roots of this plant to breathe easily. Similarly, it makes the soil loose, which help the worms and like earthworm and microbes to grow. So this is providing the favorable condition to the worms or earthworms to grow, which is going to add nutrient into the soil. So this is the advantage. These are the advantage. Fifth one is yes, it is going to uproot and buries the weeds which are present in the main field. So this is again the advantage of doing plowing. So plowing is going to increase the quality of soil by loosening it, by obviously allowing the air to penetrate inside the soil. So these are the advantage of plowing. Moving on to the second part of this plowing, that is leveling. So leveling is also a necessary step that has to be followed by the farmer. So this is the process of pressing plowed soil by the help of wooden or iron leveler. Remember why this leveling is required, because otherwise the loose soil, which is done loosened by the plowing technique. So otherwise what will happen, the soil will be blown by the air or by the water. So that loose soil has to be pressed because by the help of levelers. So otherwise it will be removed, it will be eroded by the blown wind or running water. So second advantage of leveling is it help in the uniform distribution of water in the field during the irrigation. So irrigation should be a uniform, irrigation means to say supply of water. So that supply of water should be uniform. That means it should spread all over the surface of the field. It should not be like that some part of the field is getting more amount of water and some part has remained dry. So that is why we have to do the leveling of the field. So these are the two steps. So these are the instrument nowadays. This automatic leveler is being used. Otherwise, traditionally, on the right picture you can see this kind of method was used by the farmer. Nowadays, this automatic leveler is being used. Okay, moving on to the second step of the agricultural practice, that is sowing. So remember, sowing is a process in which seed is scattered, or it is simply putting a seed into the ground for growing the crop plant. So that is basically known as sowing. And yes, before sowing, what we have to do is we have to select the healthy seed. And yes, otherwise it is going to affect our productivity. So how we can select the healthy seeds? So this is done by this activity. So what we have to do is to put all the seeds into the bucket which is having water and stir it well. Then the seed which will settle down will be obviously these are of good quality, and the seeds which are coming up onto the surface, those are floating, so they are of bad quality. So this is how we can get the idea. So the seed which is floating should not be used, and seeds which go deep and settle down can be used for the sowing part. Okay, now moving on to the sowing of seed. So sowing of seed can be done with the help of hand, that is known as broadcasting, and with the seed drill. So this is the picture showing you the broadcasting of seed. That means sowing of seed by hand. This is called as broadcasting. And yes, it can be done with the help of drills, seed drills. So seed drill is basically funnel-like structure, as you can see in the picture. Here it is. This funnel-like structure attached with the tube-like structure. So this is going to allow the seed to go deep inside the soil. But nowadays this tractor driven seed drills is used, and this is again going to reduce the time and reduce the labor cost also. So nowadays seed drills, so this kind of technique, tractor driven seed drill, is being used. Okay, moving ahead, what type of precautions that we have to keep in mind when we are sowing the seed? So this is very important. So when we are going to sow these seeds, so there are few steps that has to be keep in mind. So one is the seed should be of good quality. Remember, the seed which we are going to grow should be of plant which we are going to grow should be of good quality. How? By selection of seed. So I have already shown you the activity. So that activity we can follow to take out the healthy seeds. And yes, it should be of good quality, or hybrid seeds can also be preferred. Yes, it should be free from disease also. Second step that we have to keep in mind, it should be grown, it be sown at right depth. Otherwise, what will happen if it is planted deep? So what will happen? It cannot respire, and their shoot may not be able to push the soil. When it is growing up, the shoot part of the growing seed, can not come up onto the surface of soil. So that may happen. Or sometime when we are going to plant these seeds onto the surface, near to the surface, so they will be eaten by birds or any insects also. So chances are there that the crop production may reduce. Okay, third is the seed must be sown in a loose soil with proper amount of moisture. You know very well moisture is required for the germination of seed. So moisture should be available for the for the germination of seed. And too much water is not allowed, basically, that we have to keep in mind. Okay, fourth point is seeds should be sown at proper distance, so that there should not be any competition regarding the water, sunlight, or nutrients. So plants should not involved in this competition, otherwise both the plants, I mean the plants which are in their vicinity, will suffer, they will not grow. So that we have to keep in mind. That is why these precautions has to be followed. Nowadays this transplantation, this is the technique which is very much popular nowadays. So it is a process of transferring the seedling from the nursery to the main field by hand. So here plant seeds are grown into the nursery, and when it grow to the to some extent, I would say, so that is basically known as seedling. So seedling is a tiny plant which come out of the seed. So when this seedling is coming out of the seed, so then it can be transferred into the main field. So this is how, so you can see this is the nursery or seed bed. So this is the nursery in which rice plant is grown, and after that these plant can be transplanted into the main field like this. So this is the transplantation. So this is how we can do this transplantation. And yes, it is having some advantage, that it enables to select the better and healthy seedling, no doubt. It allows better penetration of the root in the soil. It allows better and proper spacing between the seedlings. So this is also very important. And unwanted plants, which are known as weeds, can be checked. Their growth can be controlled by having this technique. So normally this transplantation process is used in the rice case, and yes, it is used in tomato, it is used in brinjal, it is used in chili. So there are many vegetables also in which this transplantation technique is used. Okay, moving ahead, this is the third step in which manuring is done. Manuring means to say adding of nutrients. So remember, nutrients can be added with the help of natural method, and yes, farmers traditionally they are following this technique, but nowadays these techniques are very fewer in case. So like field fallow. So this is the technique which come under the category of natural method. So in this, farmer left the field for one season or more so that the nutrients can be recollected by the field. By doing so, the dead plant, dead animals and their waste collected on the land are decomposed by the by the microbes, and this nutrient is basically dissolved into the soil. So this is how field normally recollect the nutrient power. So this is basically the method, traditional method, and this is the natural method. And one more natural method is there, that is mixed cropping. So in this, basically what farmer do, they generally grow two or more than one type of crop together in the same field, and it is the mixture of seeds are basically used of two crops or more than two crops. And remember, one crop that has been taken by the farmer is leguminous or is of leguminous plant. So why it is taken as leguminous? Because leguminous plant is having the characteristic that they are going to trap the nitrogen. So in the next slide we are going to discuss about the leguminous plant. So leguminous plant is preferred so that nutrient of the other crop can be, nutrient requirement of the other crop can be fulfilled. So normally a farmer grow wheat plant with the chickpea. Chickpea is a leguminous plant. So this is an example of mixed cropping. Third technique which is there in the natural method of manuring is crop rotation. No doubt it is a practice in which different type of crop, that is leguminous and non-leguminous, are grown alternatively in the same field or soil. That is called as crop rotation. So in the crop rotation technique, a farmer is going to grow leguminous plant, and after getting the crop of leguminous plant, he will grow the non-leguminous plant. So normally leguminous plants are the plants which are having nodule-like structure. Remember, these are the plants which are having nodule-like structure in their roots. So these are leguminous plants. Basically that nodule is basically known as legume. So this structure is basically of the legume, which is of leguminous plant. And yes, you can see node-like structure is present. So normally pulses, peas, groundnut, gram, these are the example of leguminous plant. And yes, what is the advantage of these leguminous plants? That in their legume, one bacteria that is known as rhizobium lives, and this bacteria basically fixes the atmospheric nitrogen. So the nitrogen which is available in the atmosphere is converted into the nitrogen dissolved nitrogenous compound, that is nitrate. And yes, this nitrate is then easily taken up by the plant. So these bacteria are basically providing the nitrogen to be used by the plant. So these are the property of leguminous plant. These are the advantages in leguminous plant. And there are non-leguminous plant like wheat, rice, millet. So what is the crop rotation? So one time we can grow wheat, and in the other cycle we can grow leguminous plant like pulses. So the nutrient content of the soil can be maintained by having this kind of pattern of crop rotation. Remember, what leguminous plant, what rhizobium do, as you can see in this particular slide. So there are bacteria in the root nodule, as you can see. So they are taking the nitrogen from the atmosphere, these bacteria, and they are converting it into the nitrogen compound, that is nitrate, which is going to absorbed by the plant. So plants are taking their nitrogen requirement with the help of these bacteria. So this is a kind of symbiotic association. So you have already studied in the 7th standard what is symbiotic association. So this was regarding the symbiotic association between the rhizobium bacteria and the leguminous plant. Okay, moving ahead, if natural methods are not sufficient to provide adequate nutrients, so manures can be added into the soil. Even chemical fertilizers can be added into the soil to replenish the soil nutrient. So normally what is manure? It is a natural fertilizer. It is obtained by the decomposition of animal waste like cow dung, human waste and plant residue, which supply essential element and humus to the soil and make it fertile. So manures are basically made by the decomposition of waste from the plants and animals. So these waste can be plant residue, these waste can be cow dung or sometimes human waste also. So this is basically a decomposition process. Now we are having some example of manures like compost we can make. What is compost? So compost is basically made by burying all organic matter in a pit, with alternating layer of soil and leaving it for the this rotting process. So the content organic matter will rot and it will convert into the compost, and this compost can be used as manure. So this is composting basically. Similarly, vermicomposting is there, in which red worm or earthworm is used for making vermicompost. And similarly, one more type of green manure is there, that is known as green manure. So here leguminous plants are grown into the field and they are ploughed into the field. We are not harvesting these crops, but we are just simply ploughing it with the soil so that the nutrients which are available in the plant go directly into the soil. So this is basically known as green manuring. So these are the example of manure. Similarly, we have one advantage of manures, like they are rich in organic matter, and yes, it is not rich in nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, but these are going to provide the all type of nutrients in all together. They are not specific basically. Okay, manures improve the texture of the soil. No doubt the adding of manure is having advantage of that. They are going to increase the texture, improve the texture of the soil. So soil become porous and they are going to hold water more easily, and yes, they are having more amount of air also in because of this manure. Similarly, manure is not soluble in water, so it is not absorbed by soil. So it is the nutrient part of this manure is basically available to the plant. It is not easily available to the plant, but it takes times for the availability. So the absorption is very slow as compared to the chemical fertilizers. And yes, manures are very bulky, so this is the disadvantage, and voluminous, so it is inconvenient to store and transport also these manures. Okay, now the fertilizer part. So fertilizer is a salt, or it is a chemical fertilizer which is basically prepared in the laboratory, and yes, it is going to provide the nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium to make the soil more fertile. And these are the example of fertilizers like urea, DAP, superphosphate, potash, NPK. These are the fertilizers which can be prepared in the industries and laboratories. Yes, and of course nowadays these chemicals are basically used in large amount to increase the productivity. So these are basically prepared in the industries. Okay, there are some benefits and some disadvantage of fertilizers, like they are organic compound, no doubt, and they are rich in specific nutrients, not like manure. They are rich in specific nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Normally it is called as NPK. And yes, fertilizers are soluble in water. Because they are soluble in water, so they are readily absorbed by the plant. So they are readily available to the plant. And it can be stored in the bags also, and they can be transported easily. But the negative aspect of the fertilizer is that it cannot be used in high amount, otherwise it is going to affect the quality of the soil. They can make soil acidic or alkaline also. Okay, now the fourth step of this agricultural practice is irrigation. Irrigation means to say supply of water to the crop. And yes, why irrigation is required, you know very well, because it is going to make the soil soft before ploughing, when we do it before ploughing. And yes, it is going to provide the moisture for the germinating seeds. Yes, it helps in plant to take the nutrients from the absorbing water. Yes, plant are going to absorb the water, and whatever nutrients are present in the soil, they are going to be dissolved in the water and then going to the plant with the help of this water, available water. And yes, it protects the plant from the hot air as well as frost. So irrigation, that water is required for the survival of the plant in the adverse conditions. Okay, what are the sources of water? So in India, there are many sources like river, canal, wells, tube well, dams, ponds, lakes, and yes, rainfall also. So still, I mean, in India, after so many progress, there are some areas like Rajasthan where people and farmers are depending upon their on the rainfall. And yes, there were some traditional method and there are some modern method also. So traditional methods like mott, pulley system, chain pump, directly, rahat, these were the methods which were used by the agriculturist or farmer. These are like you can see in the picture. This is the pulley system, mott system, in which pitcher is basically used, pot is basically used to drag out the water, and this is the pulley system, chain system. So in this this chain is available. So this chain is basically rotated, and the water from the lower underground part is dragging out onto the surface and then poured into the field. Similarly, this is the system, Dakley system, in which lever system is used to drag out the water from the well. Similarly, this is the Reid system, in which this again pulley system is there. So bullock is added, so it is going to rotate, this axle is going to move, and yes, it will drag out the water from the well. So these are the traditional methods. But as per your syllabus, now modern method of irrigation, so we are having tube well, we are having sprinkler system, we are having drip system. So these are the advanced methods which are now used in irrigation. So tube well is simple process in which pump is added to draw out the water from a narrow well. So this is tube well basically. So in this pipe is basically used. So and motor is attached, pump is attached, so to drag out the water. So this is very easy and time saving method. And yes, this pumping method is basically used in two ways. One is known as sprinkler system. So in this system, water is pumped out through the tube well, but distribution of water is done through the rotating nozzle. So here you can see in this picture, nozzles are used to spray the water. So water is sprinkled over the crop like this. This is the sprinkle method, and it is very convenient method. So it is used for uneven land, where land is not even and sandy soil is there. So it helps in reducing the wastage of water also. So this technique is used where there is land is uneven and sandy soil is there. So that's sprinkler system. And also one more system is there, that is drip irrigation system. In this network of narrow pipe with small holes are present. So these are distributed onto the fields like this. So you can see every hole or pore is going to put water direct onto the root part of the plant. So this is how dripping or drip irrigation system works. And you can see the drop wise dripping method is there. So every plant is getting drop of water from the hole which is there in the pipe. So this method is used for fruit crops, and it allows, less wastage of water basically. So this is what we can say irrigation process. Now we are going to discuss water logging. So this is the concept I have already told you. When the land is not uniform, so some part of the land which is not having adequate drainage facility, so what may happen, the water which is supplied in excess get accumulated over the surface of the land. So that water stands onto the land. This situation is called waterlogged situation. So water get collected over the land. So here you can see water get collected over the land because of the poor drainage system and because of the uneven level of the land. So what this water logging can do with the soil? So this water is going to clog the air pores, and yes, it is going to reduce the growth of the plant, because plants are not going to get the good amount of air from the soil by their roots. So this clogging of air pores will occur due to water logging. Okay. Now the fifth step is the removal of weeds. So weeds, I have already told you, the unwanted plant which grow along with the cultivated crops are called weeds. So these process of removing these weeds like wild oat, grass, chenopodium and amaranthus. So this process of removing these weeds are called as weeding. So this removal of weeds are known as weeding. Remember, this can be done with the help of mechanical method. This can be done with the help of chemical method. Mechanically, we can do by the hand picking method by using trowels, and yes, by tillage and harrow also we can do this removal of weeding. But all these methods includes uprooting of weeds. And yes, nowadays there are some chemical are also available which can be sprayed over the field. So these chemicals are known as weedicide or herbicide. So this chemical is also used for removal of weeds. These chemicals are known as weedicide. So like 2,4-D is a chemical, MCPA, butachlor or metachlor, and dalapon. So these are the common weedicide or herbicide which is used to remove the weeds. So these chemicals, remember, these chemicals do not affect the growth of main crop. Now the sixth step is the protection of crop from the pest and disease. So how it can be done? Remember, crop should be protected from the pest And these pests are the organisms which are going to attack and damage the crop. So these are the organisms like rodents, like insects, or sometimes microbes like fungus also. Remember, pesticides, I mean, we can use how we can control these growth of pest and disease. So we are having some chemicals, and these chemicals are known as pesticides. Remember, the chemical which are used to control their growth, these are known as pesticide. And pesticide like rodenticide to kill rats and insecticide to kill insects are used by farmers. So these are the type of pesticide. You can see this is the malathion, which is the pesticide which is used to kill the insects like worms, even to kill the rodents also, like rat also, it is being used in the field. Now there are some disease which can occur to the plants. So these are the disease, like you can see, this is these are the disease, like first one is the late blight of potato. So these are the fungal disease. So remember, these are the disease which are caused by the fungus. And yes, this is, you can see, black stem part is basically due to the fungus growth. So this is late blight of potato. Similarly, you can see this is the black smut of wheat. So you can see this wheat part is getting black. So this is again black smut of wheat. So these are the fungal disease, and these can be controlled with the help of chemical that is known as fungicide. So this is how we can control the pest and fungus or disease. Remember, when we are going to spray the pesticide, normally it is done with the help of hand sprayer in India, but sometimes it is aircraft is also used in developed countries. So when we use this pesticide, we have to keep these things in mind, that they are toxic. Pesticides are very toxic and kill insects like honeybee also, which are useful to us. So remember, and yes, it can irritate our skin, it can cause problem to our respiratory tract also. And yes, it can enter in our food, and it may cause the food to become toxic, and it can harm us also. So that is why we should use the pesticide in very appropriate manner. Okay, now the last step, second last step is the harvesting. Yes, harvesting. What is harvesting? So this is the process that is known as cutting and gathering of matured food crop. So in this crops which are matured now, so that has been cutted, and yes, these are gathered so that grain part can be removed from it. So when these grains are ripened, so normally farmer, how the farmer get to know that grain are ripened? So they normally keep the seeds under their teeth, between the teeth, and yes, when the crack sound appears, then they come to know, yes, this is mature. So then they used to harvest this with the help of this tool that is known as sickle, or nowadays this combined machine is basically used, in which harvesting and taking out of the seed, that is grain, is done by the machine. So this is having threshing and harvesting. Harvesting and threshing, both the thing can be done with the help of this machine. So this machine is known as combined machine. Okay. So after cutting the plants or crop, threshing is a technique in which grains are beaten out. So this is basically known as threshing. Normally farmer do it with the hand like this. So this is the traditional method, but nowadays this thresher machine is being used to take out the grains. And after that, yeah, sometime this winnowing method, that is the removal of chaff from the seeds or grain, can be done. So in this, wind is used by the you can see in this picture. So this is the traditional method, but nowadays this winnowing machines are used to remove the grain from the chaff. So this is the winnowing. Again, these are just to collect the maximum production, just to collect the maximum grain out of the crop. Okay, now this is also a kind of practice which is followed by the farmer, that after having the harvesting process, they used to burn their crop residue, which is going to obviously deteriorate the quality of our atmosphere, and yes, it is also going to kill the bacteria which are present in the soil. So obviously fertility also goes down. So we have to aware the farmers not to do this burning of crop residue. Okay, now the storage of food grain. This is also very important part. This is the last part of the agricultural practice, in which farmer are going to sell their crop to the government so that the government can store it. So farmer can store at their individual level also, otherwise government are going to have this storage. So normally for storing purpose, the moisture level is preferred. Some moisture level is preferred, that is less than 14%. If moisture is more than 14%, so chances are there the plants or the grain can be contaminated, can be infected with the disease. So that we have to keep in mind, that moisture should be less than 14%. And yes, sometimes this storage house is fumigated with the chemical like pesticide, rodenticide, fungicide, so that they can be protected with the bacteria or fungus also, or rats also. So this is storage. Now as you can see in this slide, grains can be stored in the granaries with the help of gunny bags, and it can be stored in the silos also. You can see these are the two techniques how we can store the grains. So one is like granary. As you can see, there are state warehouses available in every city of our country. So in this also they can be stored, and yes, grains can be stored in this silo like structure. This is the aluminum container, very big in size, more than 3 story, and it is used for the storage of grains. So these grains are basically government are going to purchasing these grain, and they are stocking as a buffer stock, so that it can be used in the adverse condition when there is a loss of production, or sometimes monsoons are not appropriate. So that time when the crop production reduces, so that these grain can be used in this type of season. Okay, the last part of this topic is the animal husbandry. It is also a branch of agriculture in which feeding, shelter, health and breeding for domestic animal is done. So this is the branch of agriculture basically, in which animals are reared so that their products can be obtained. And yes, animals are provide two type of product. One is the milk from the milch animals like cow, buffalo, goat, and second is the meat and egg from the goat, fish and poultry. No doubt there is one more product that we get from the honeybee in the form of honey. So these are the various products, and no doubt they are rich in nutrients like protein, like carbohydrate, like vitamins also. So that is why animals can also be reared for the to fulfill the demand of the people. So now in the next video, you can observe the remaining topics. So this is the second part of this chapter.